Okay, so in this video, what we did in the last programming tutorial was a console application that built fractions. So what we're going to be doing now is actually making that same basic program, but actually applying it to a user interface. So what we're going to do is create a new Xcode project. Oh, and by the way, this is a two-part tutorial. The first part is just going to be out in the code, that's what this was, and the second one is going to be hooking the code to the user interface. So Xcode, new project, application, Cocoa, neither of those, choose, and then there's that fraction program from last time, and I'm just going to call it numbers to make it different. Save it in my directory of choice. And so now what we're going to need to do is create two new class files. The first one is going to be an Objective-C class and call it fraction. .m, also create a .h and target in numbers. And then same thing, right-click classes, add new file, Objective-C class, next. And this one's going to be app controller.m and .h. So the first one is going to be the actual blueprint of what is necessary for a fraction object. Okay, so in between the brackets, braces are going to be what are called instance variables. So what these would be is int numerator and int denominator. And what those are integers. There are variables, and what it means is that for every fraction object that is ever created, for every fraction, there is two specific properties. One is numerator, one is denominator, and for each fraction object that gets created, we need a variable to store those that are separate. So you can create fraction number 1 with numerator of 3 and denominator of 4, and fraction number 2 with a numerator of 5 and a denominator of 7. So like they are individual variables for the object's instance. So fraction is this overlaying topic, but each instance of the fraction gets an instance of the instance variables. So that's why they're called instance variables. So that's what goes there. And then what we're going to do here is declare. Just say that these methods exist. Declare the methods right here between the end brace and at end. So then to start off writing the declaration, you either need a minus or a plus. And the plus entails a class method. The minus entails an instance method. So if you wanted to change the numerator of a specific fraction, that's an instance method because the numerator is specific to that fraction. However, like if you were writing a math program and you wanted like a reference to pi, you wouldn't want to create a new math object and then access pi. You would want to just access maths pi. So math pi, the method that would return, I think it's 22/7, would be a class method because it wouldn't be specific to a math object, it would be specific to math. Another way to put the instance thing is dog is kind of this overlaying species of animal, but if you have a dog or have a pet, then that would be a specific pet, a specific dog. That's an instance. So if you wanted to say dog sit and do that command, because the method is really just a command, you wouldn't want every dog to sit, you would want just your dog to sit. So that's another way to think of instance methods. So let me write this out. The first method is going to be the void. It's going to be called set numerator. That's the name. And we need a colon, int, n. Now, so what this is right here in between these first two parentheses is what we call the return type. So you'll understand that a little bit more in a minute. But void means it has no return type. Set numerator is what I'm calling this method for reference. Then the colon entails that everything past is going to be what we call parameters. So in order to set the numerator equal to something, so if I have this fraction object and I want to say now I want to set the numerator equal to 5. What's necessary to set the numerator equal to a new number is that 5. If I just say set numerator, there's really no way to do that. I mean, you could make it set numerator random, just do some random number, but what we want to do is give the person using the set numerator method the ability to specify what number they're setting the numerator to. So we're going to do the same thing for set denominator. Int d. N and d are just what we're going to call it. It's because we don't know what the variable is. Because if I say set the numerator equal to 5, then it'll always be 5. But if I say n or d, they're variables that hold a value that somebody can put in. So it leaves it open. Now, this one is going to be a return type of int, and this is going to be get numerator. And then we don't need a parameter. And what that means is that the return type is basically the type of thing that we're going to give back. So here, when we get the numerator, ideally when we call get numerator, it's going to give back the value of numerator. Oops, numerator. So we're giving back an int, because numerator is of the type int. So now do the same thing for get denominator. And then I want to do one little more intricate method of ns string pointer format fraction. So now what this method will do is it will build a string, which is a set of characters, so a line of text, and in Objective-C that object is called an ns string. ns stands for next step, but you don't need to worry about that. And also don't worry about the pointer, just know that the asterisk means pointer, and also that most object types, ns string is an object as opposed to data types like int, are going to require pointers. And if you want to, you can look up a more detailed explanation of that. So format fraction is going to take the numerator and the denominator and make a string that would be like 3/4. So that's what we're going to give back in that method. Alright, so now what I'm going to do is copy this over to the .m file, and now for each one of these I'm going to get rid of the semicolon because that's just the declaration, put a set of braces, and actually write out what the methods are going to do. So in the set numerator method, what we're going to do is take the numerator and now set it equal to this new number. So numerator is equal to n. So the n is the past variable, so if somebody says 5, we're going to take 5 and put it into numerator and denominator. So we're going to do the same thing for denominator, like I said. Denominator is equal to d. Now, like I said, we're returning an object, we're giving something back in get numerator. What we're giving back is the numerator, so we're going to return numerator, semicolon. Same thing for get denominator. So pretty easy, right? Now this one will be a little more complicated, but what we're going to do is first declare, or start writing out that there is an ns object, or ns string object. Pointer, I'm going to call it output. Now that's equal to, and let me just write this out and I'll explain it. Okay, so now I'm declaring an NSString pointer that's named output. Now, what these brackets entail is that we're calling a method. That's how we would call this. So like if I created a new fraction called f, then I would, in order to call the setNumerator method, it would look something like, it would look like this. Let's say int num equals bracket f set numerator colon 4 or 5 4 whatever. So that's what this would look like. So we're calling this method, f is the fraction, calling setNumerator, and here's our parameter. Okay, now this is the example of a class method. NSString is a class that's calling a method called string_with_format. So it's making a formatted string, just like we're doing here. Now what we're doing is the at basically means that it's an NSString object versus a string for the C language, so it's slightly different. But then %i means that an integer variable is going to go there. So integer variable here, integer variable here. So then what integer variables? Numerator is first, so it goes in the first. Denominator is second, so it goes in the second. So when this string is output, or when this string is created, it actually looks like, let's say numerator was 7 and denominator was 8. It would be 7/8. That's what the string would look like. Now, secondly, what we're going to have to do is take this new string that we've built, output, and give it back. So we're going to return output. So now we're done with that. We've made the fraction object in full. Now in the next one, we're actually going to build the app controller to control the user interface and then hook it up. So hopefully you learned something, and watch the next video.